Members of the House, please be seated.
Will the House come to order? Mr. Clerk.
Aloha and good morning. Today's invocation will be delivered by Representative Della Al-Beladi. Will the members who wish to participate please rise?
You may be seated. I'd like to take this time to spend my invocation to share with you some words of wisdom from my staff, who have been a wonderful help in getting me to this point here in the 31st Legislature. So just some words of wisdom. From my office manager, Naj, what really matters from the point of view of social capital and civic engagement is not merely nominal membership, but active and involved membership. Robert Putnam, Bowling Alone. From Jay, one of my communications specialists, is the new day blooms as we free it, for there is always light, if only we're brave enough to see it, if only we're brave enough to be it. From Amanda Gorman, from her poem, The Hill We Climb, presented at President Biden's inauguration. From Morgan, my administrative assistant, a healthy democracy requires a decent society. It requires that we are honorable, tolerant, and respectful. Charles Pickering. And the final one for us to all live by. In the end, a person is only known by the impact he or she has on others. Jim Stovall, The Ultimate Gift, from my legislative aide, Danny. Best wishes in this 31st legislative session and as we move forward through the work ahead. Mahalo.
Good job. Thank you. And thank you, Majority Leader. Mr. Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Mr. Aquino, Ms. Beladi, Mr. Bronco, Mr. Cullen, Ms. DeCoit, Ms. Eli, Mr. Ganaden, Mr. Gates, Ms. Har.
She's here.
Mr. Hashem,
I know. You got it.
Mr. Hashem, Mr. Hashimoto, Mr. Holt, Ms. Ichiyama, Mr. Ilagan, Mr. Johansson, Ms. Capella, Ms. Kitagawa, Mr. Bertrand Kobayashi, Mr. Dale Kobayashi, Mr. Kong, Mr. Lopresti,
Present.
Ms. Lowen, Ms. Luke, Ms. Martin, Mr. Matayoshi, Ms. Matsumoto, Mr. McDermott, Mr. McKelvey, Ms. Morikawa, Ms. Nakamura, Mr. Nakashima, Mr. Nishimoto, Mr. Ono, Ms. Okimoto, Mr. Onishi, Ms. Peruso, Mr. Quinlan, Mr. Saiki, Mr. Sayama, Mr. Takayama, Mr. Takumi, Mr. Tam, Mr. Tarnas, Mr. Todd, Mr. Tokioka, Mr. Ward, Ms. Wildberger, Mr. Woodson, Mr. Yamane, Mr. Yamashita, Mr. Speaker.
Here.
Mr. Speaker, all 51 members are present.
And thank you, Mr. Clerk. Reading of the Journal, Representative Morikawa.
Mr. Speaker, may this matter be deferred.
So ordered. Thank you. Mr. Clerk, are there any messages from the Governor?
Mr. Speaker, there are none.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, are there any Senate communications?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, we are in receipt of communications returning House Concurrent Resolutions number 1 and 2, both having been adopted in the Senate. We are in further receipt of a communication transmitting Senate Concurrent Resolution number 1, requesting the Chief Justice of the Hawaii Supreme Court to address the legislature assembled in joint session for the State of the Judiciary Address, having been adopted in the Senate.
Thank you very much. Representative Bellotti.
Mr. Speaker, I move to adopt Senate Concurrent Resolution Number 1.
Thank you. Representative Morikawa.
Mr. Speaker, I second the motion.
Thank you very much. It's been moved and seconded that Senate Concurrent Resolution Number 1 be adopted. Any discussion? If there is no discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed saying no. The motion is carried. Introduction of bills. Representative Bellotti.
Mr. Speaker, I move that all bills laying on the clerk's desk pass first reading by title and be referred to print.
Thank you very much. Representative Morikawa.
Mr. Speaker, I second the motion.
Thank you very much. Moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed saying no. The motion is carried. Mr. Clerk, are there any resolutions for action?
Mr. Speaker, there are no resolutions for action. May all others be referred to print.
So ordered. Members, are there any announcements? Representative Bellotti.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Point of personal privilege, and may I ask if the representative from Hawaii Kai will yield to a question?
Before we get to that, Representative Bellotti, what is the question?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The question is, has the minority caucus elected you to be the minority leader of the caucus for the 2021 legislative session?
Recess.
Thank you, Mr.
Members of the House, please be seated.
Chair recognizes Representative Bellotti.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So just to reiterate, if the representative from the Hawaii Kai will yield to the question, has the minority caucus elected you to be the minority leader of the caucus for the 2021 legislative session?
Thank you, Representative Ward.
Thank you, Speaker. Thank you, Majority Leader. The good Majority Leader has asked a question that everybody probably knows is the elephant in the room. I want you to know two things. Number one, Val and I are still having campaign speeches. The campaign has not ended, but it shall end soon, we hope. Some of you know that there was an article in Civil Beat this morning. It did not list my title. It listed me as something that we had talked about 3 weeks ago about what the majority was concerned about. The pandemic and ending it, the economy opening it, small businesses helping them, and balancing the budget. That's the only thing that was said on behalf of my colleagues. And the four of us are here because we're honored to be part of this great legislative body to at least ask the hard questions in a two-party system. So what we have is a little bit of a disagreement, and I know that when your side had a disagreement, one, Cynthia Thielen, came up and said, I will be your speaker. And you said, well, look, let us resolve it on our own. So may I beg your indulgence? We are getting organized. It'll be a while. It'll either be Val or myself. And I'm surprised that we're doing this. This is the first time I've ever been questioned in 20 years of being here to ask a question on the floor. And I yield to them, and I expect a reciprocal when something on the other side may be asked from this side. So thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Majority Leader.
Thank you, Representative Ward. Representative Bellotti.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just a point of personal privilege, I would remind the previous speaker that he should refer to his colleagues as the representative from Mililani and not by their colloquial name, as we would like to defer and offer respect to each of our colleagues. Mr. Speaker, further, and this will be brief, I was surprised to wake up at 6 a.m. this morning to read the Civil Beat article, which did in fact identify Representative from Hawaii Kai as the minority leader. There was also some untruths in that article which said that there were to be no opening day speeches. As we have communicated to both caucuses, or excuse me, as we've communicated to the majority caucus and 4 members of the Republican Party, those speeches were only going to be postponed. And there are plans, in fact, for the majority caucus, because the majority caucus has a majority leader and the speaker, to lay out the priorities for the state. Though that is still in the plans, and I just wanted to clarify because, Mr. Speaker, facts matter. And the fact is that the minority caucus does not have an elected minority leader. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you
Mr.
for the
Speaker.
clarification. Representative Ward.
Mr. Speaker, a brief retort. I mean, in effect, she has proven the purpose of the article has been fulfilled. You guys did not have anything to say to the public, and now you're saying, well, actually, we never did. We did, but we never told you, and now you've told us. The people of Hawaii will hear what the majority caucus stands for. My point was not to embarrass you as you're attempting to embarrass the minority caucus. The attempt was...
Mr. Speaker, I object and call for a recess, please.
No, I'm not going to, but Representative Ward.
This is what happens for you
Representative Ward.
freshmen. When anything ever gets
Okay.
controversial
Mr.
against
Speaker.
the minority,
Mr. Speaker.
this becomes shut off the microphone. He's got a button right there.
Members of the House, please be...
Will the House come to order? Mr. Clerk, can you please strike from the record any reference to the word campaign? If we can use the word leadership instead of the word campaign regarding campaigning issues, it's just to protect all members of the House. Thank you very much. Representative Ward.
As long as the context is understood, we are still making speeches to each other. And I used the word campaign, so it's being struck, just so you know why it's not a campaign political issue. It's a campaign rhetorical, speaking to other members to get their votes. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Ward. And again, we're here to protect all members, so thank you for the clarification. But yeah, for the record, if we can strike out the word campaign. Okay, any further announcements, members? Okay, seeing none. I do have an announcement. I'd like to remind all the members that on Monday, we will convene at 9 a.m. for our regular session. The Governor's State of the State Address will commence at 10 a.m. on Monday. Representative Belatti.
Mr. Speaker, I move that this House stand adjourned until 9 o'clock a.m. Monday.
Thank you very much. Representative Morikawa.
Mr. Speaker, I second that motion.
Thank you very much. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. The motion is carried. The House stands adjourned until 9 a.m. Monday. Hey, Gene, you cool?